Welcome to the Doctors Making a Difference podcast, where we help physicians to be empowered with the tools they need to be successful in medicine, in finance, and in life. Join us as we highlight doctors and other professionals around the world who are making a difference. Doctors change lives every day, but what happens when life changes yours? A single injury, a sudden illness, your career, your income, your future can shift in an instant. The best physicians don't just plan for success, they protect it. At Set for Life Insurance, they believe financial security isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. True own occupation disability insurance ensures that no matter what happens, your future stays in your hands. Because protecting your income means protecting everything you've built. Visit drpodcastnetwork.co/set for life today. Secure your future before life makes the choice for you. Imagine if you could work for over 40 years as a physician in a community that you love, and imagine developing relationships of trust and friendship and love with the patients that you have for such a long period of time. Dr. Robert Ross joins us today, and I'm so excited to hear his story. It's an inspirational story, and I think you're going to love it. So, Dr. Ross, would you mind introducing yourself to our audience today?
First of all, Peter, thank you very much for inviting me to be one of your guests in your podcast. Yes, I'm Robert Ross. I'm a family physician and geriatrician. I grew up in Mexico and had the opportunity that we will be able to go into later on the podcast to the United States to continue with my education. I came to San Antonio 35 years ago and in private practice as a professional after all my training. I worked in the south side of San Antonio and in a partnership with two other physicians. We established a primary care group in San Antonio. I did a family practice residency and I did a geriatric fellowship.
That's pretty neat. I want to hear the story. I know you and I talked a little bit before recording about this amazing story of you as a young boy in Mexico, and then what led you to medicine, and how did you end up eventually practicing on the south side of Antonio? Do you mind walking us through that a little bit?
Sure. Well, as a young physician, once I was in private practice, I started reflecting on my life and what point I got where I was, and let me first say, Peter, I'm a man of faith. My faith is very strong. My faith drives many of my actions. Okay? And my life was evolving in such a way that I felt I was blessed. I was doing things I was never expecting to do, and that they were a lot of fun. So I said, well, why all these things why are these things happening in my life? And I had, growing up in Mexico, 3 opportunities of dying, from being perfectly healthy to being dead. One was when I was very young. I was 5 or 6 years old. And I remember it was in the winter, and I remember waking up wrapped in a blanket, being dragged into the kitchen, because we lived in the northern part of Mexico. It was very cold. And at the time, back in the early 60s in Mexico, at least, they had some heaters with that burnt oil or something. And this heater started to basically to smoke. And when my mom came into the room, found the room filled with smoke, so dragged my sister and myself out of the room. So I could have easily have died of carbon monoxide poisoning.
Oh yeah.
From going to bed and never waking up.
Yep.
So it was very fortuitous, very lucky that my mom, I don't know if she saw the smoke or smelled it or something, and got us out. The second time, I must have been probably, again, maybe, I don't know, 7 years old or so. We were driving in a Volkswagen Beetle. My mom was driving, was an aunt in front, my sister, and my cousin in the middle, and I was also in the back of the little Volkswagen Beetle. Well, we were crossing the railroad tracks, and my aunt yelled, "Stop!" And my mom stopped right on top of uh, the tracks.
Oh dear.
And the train was, and my aunt had yelled, "Stop!" because the train was coming. So the cars stall. My aunt gets out of the car, leaves the door open, and I'm able to see the train coming towards us. And my mom is trying to get the car going, and she can't, and she can't, and she can't. And eventually the car just starts to slide back off the railroad tracks, and the train goes by.
Wow.
What my mom did, for whatever reason, she just put the car in neutral,
And it rolled.
and it rolled off the tracks. Then again, why? No, the four of us would have been crushed by the train.
Right.
And the last thing that happened to me, vacation, and so we went to the beach, an isolated beach, not many people, no lifeguards, unattended beach. And so my dad, my sister, my brother, and I go into the ocean and start fooling around. My mom and my little sister stay on the beach. So we start, going in and having a good time with my dad and my siblings. And then we noticed that we were off where we have started. And we tried to swim back to the shore, and we can't get out. So we were in a riptide, and we didn't know. And of course, we were getting tired, and we couldn't touch the ground, and we were just swimming, and get out. My sister's so tired that she leans now on my dad. My brother wants to lean on my dad, and my dad says, "No, no, you keep swimming," because he was also very tired. Anyway, my mom waving us, two guys, after we have been struggling for a while, two guys join in, start walking on the beach, just walking on the beach, start swimming towards us, get into the water and swim towards us. And they reach us, and they said, "You are in a riptide." And they said, well, they told me, start swimming parallel to the beach and then towards the beach. And they took my sister. And so these guys took us out.
Yeah,
And
they
these
saved your
guys
life.
they saved our lives.
Yeah.
The four of us could have drowned. So why I did not die in those three events, okay? So that's one part of what was part of my reflection. The other was that I wanted to become a physician, and I was able to become a physician. God gave me the smarts, gave me the discipline, gave me a home where I was encouraged education and development. I wanted to come to the United States, and I was able to come to the United States after I finished my training to pursue my education. I got into a residency program. So all these things that I wanted to do came through. Yes, I had to work for them. They were not given to me.
Right.
Though everything, all my wishes came to be. And I start working at the south side of San Antonio for an older physician. The practice grows. He retires. I stay. I meet another doctor, an internist, a critical care guy. We start working together. We work well. we developed a partnership, managing other doctors' practices as well as our own. Within as that partnership grew, we take another doctor, a med peds and critical care wonderful, wonderful lady. And so we end up developing a medical group. And so why? The three of us, well, let me go back. The practice was in the south side of San Antonio, which is mostly Hispanic population. It's an underserved population. And of course, I speak Spanish. It's my first language. And I felt extremely comfortable. It was very well received by my colleagues as well as by my patients. And as one day, it was very interesting. I was already several years into practice, and one of my patients tells me, "Dr. Ross, why are you here?" It's just a direct question. And that was the kind of relationship I
guess
had with my
he was
patients.
wondering, why are you on the south side of San Antonio
Yes.
when you could have so many other places? Or is that, do you think that was the context of his question?
Yes.
Interesting.
And so I told the patient, because God sent me to this earth to take care of his people. That's why I'm here. And even though I said I was been in a period of reflection, I was finally able to translate it into words. And that became basically the why, the very obvious why of what I do. And because of that, I had a purpose. My life had a very powerful meaning. What I did for a living was very powerful. But I was finally able to articulate it. I love the profession. I love taking care of patients. I took care of patients in Mexico that were very poor. And I always enjoyed that interaction with the people I was caring for. But it finally had matured into actually a personal mission statement, if you want to call it that way.
I do like that, yeah.
Okay. So, yes, the hours were very long. Because sort of the group, I was basically, my partners asked me to be the president of the group. I had a full practice. We became very busy, and we started hiring nurse practitioners and other primary care physicians into the group. And that, Peter, was a way to leverage what I was doing and what my partners were doing. We were just able to take care of so many patients ourselves. But even though it was not a written statement in a wall, the mission of the group was to bring into the South Side residency trained caring physicians and healthcare professionals to serve a population that needed medical services. Okay, to the point that through my partner, the med peds, she wanted to have actually a separate office, pediatric office, because we were very busy. And of course, the young moms didn't want to be with the old, having their babies next to the old people, and the old patients didn't want the kids running around in the waiting room. So it got to be kind of chaotic for a while. So we opened another office right there in the complex. That, by the way, we have purchased, and we can talk about our very our intentional strategy about that. And so it ended up happening. We opened a pediatric office, and we hired pediatricians, and we had staff and everything. Well, as the time went by, we identified that that office as a profit center was not making money, was not losing money, but was not a money making operation. And we had a MBA or a CPA looking at our books, they would have easily said, hey, close it down. You're not making money. Though that we did not have that. We had 3 primary care Hispanic physicians that were partners. And we knew that the population in that area needed pediatricians. There were very few pediatricians. So we kept it open, and it remained open. We knew we were not making money. We didn't care. The community needed pediatricians. And that was part of what the group did. So we were, even though we were in a fee-for-service environment, dealing with the major insurance companies, we were doing fine. The partners were doing fine. The doctors that actually understood our mission and what we were about, they were, many of them did very well financially. Because what's a fee-for-service? You see a patient, you get paid, we have overhead, we cover the overhead, you get a base salary, you get all your benefits, and with the first dollar that you're profitable, we start sharing. And the more money you make, the more we share. The bonus actually increased because it had a different contract where when they were self-sufficient on their production, the group kept a small, after the overhead, get a small percentage, and the doctor make the rest. Because we all were there because we want to be there. See? And that was something in the recruiting part of the phase of bringing somebody in, was it's like, look, we know you can go and work anywhere you want. Anywhere you want. You are board certified in family medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics. You can be in a different city. You can be in the north side of town. Just as we, the partners, can be anywhere. We have chosen to be here. Okay? This is where we feel we make the biggest impact in our profession. I just want you to think about that. Where are you going to have the biggest impact in your profession? Financially, you're going to do well. You're going to do the model that we have here works, is proven. Beyond financials, where are you going to have your biggest impact as a doctor?
Well, I think that's worth reflecting on for a minute, because I think all of us would probably do well to sit back and think, what is my personal mission statement? Where do I make that biggest impact? And it sounds like you and your partners and those you hired over the years found that same thing, that if you if you know you're there to do a good job, you have a reason to be there, and people will keep coming back to you because you know they can see that passion and drive. translates to good finance, makes good financial sense after a while because people will pay you well for the things that you do, and they can tell when you're passionate. My curiosity is, you found that passion fairly early in your career, and you found that ability to define yourself and give your personal mission statement, and it helped drive everything you did after that. My question is,
Yes.
how did you maintain it? A lot of people will tell me that stuff, and they'll say, okay, I did that for 15 years and I found it, and then I found that I was burned out, or I lost the drive for doing it. And my curiosity is, how did you maintain it, and how did you maintain any sort of balance in life? Because medicine is an amazing career, but it will eat you alive if you let it.
Yes, as you well know, because um, you do a variety of things. You're doing hospital work, you have your office, and you do other things
Right.
within the scope of your practice, right? And that's how I started. I started doing hospital work, unassigned admissions to the hospital, the office, assisting in surgery, nursing home, uh, care, home. I had a small population of people that did home visits because they were homebound.
Right.
Um, Probably similar to what you do, right? Um, well, the what kept me going was one, I had agency. I was my own boss. I saw as many patients as I wanted. That there were many because the demands were many. I had a full practice and people wanted to come see me. And my practice actually got so big that we needed to hire other physicians to take the overflow, right? So then it was very, very exciting when we had the group. Um, we needed to open another office. And then again, in another underserved area of San Antonio, in the southeast side of town. And I had a physician that eventually became my partner. He's 13 years younger than I am, and I love him like a brother. Actually, him and his wife and I are doing the Camino de Santiago in the fall.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so we, even though I'm retired, we still keep, we have a very good relationship. He joined us when he was in after his residency. He finished internal medicine here at the university, and he joined us. He understood the mission, um, and the value of what we were doing, and he actually internalized it. And he's a brilliant individual. He's a good man. This is what I tell people. You have to start with a person. He's a good man. Very smart, very driven. Um, and we were able to do wonderful things. So you asked me, well, how you kept this going? It was by seeing what other people were doing, were helping us to do. It was exciting. In his case, he wanted to open an office for the group. His aim was to become a partner. He said, okay, we will support you financially. We'll pay to open the office. You are going to manage it. It's going to be your thing. And he did. So now we had another office. We had initially we had two offices, one in the south side of San Antonio, and the other one in the outside of downtown of San Antonio, not okay, in the south side of San Antonio, and the one in the south side. Then we opened this up, and then we had the pediatric office in the south side of San Antonio. Then we opened this other office in the southeast side of San Antonio, also an underserved area, great need of physicians. So it was the excitement of seeing the group grow and continue to provide services in areas that were lacking physicians. Also, something that gave me great joy is to seeing how young physicians were developing professionally. in many ways, I also in reflecting on all these things that we did, I felt that I was a gardener attending a flower bed.
How interesting.
My my mission, well, this is it, Peter. My mission was to create an environment where people will blossom. Just like somebody that attends a flower bed, you work on the land, you fertilize the land, the dirt, right? You plant the seeds, you cover it with mulch, you water it, and then you wait and you want to see what happens, what comes out, what's going to develop, how are they going to bloom, what are the fruits going to be. And that, yes, requires a lot of patience on one end, but on the other hand, you see these young physicians coming up and developing as leaders, believing in your mission. That's fuel for your own. They are giving you the energy to continue. Does it make sense?
Oh yeah, so you had not only fulfillment from serving patients, because we hopefully physicians everybody has some fulfillment in that, but you also found that mentorship and growing the business and continuing that drive to provide the service that other people need. You found that filled your bucket, I guess. It kept you going for over 40 years. That's amazing.
Well, yes. Well, initially I said 30, 35, 40, 43 years as a physician, 35 years in private practice, primary care in San Antonio. And that is that's basically the second phase. And so my drive was, how do we make it better? Well, it's a huge responsibility having people come and join you and believe in your mission and what you're doing. Um, and not only financially, but you have to create the environment where they can thrive. If they are not happy, patients are not going to be happy.
Right.
We know that,
Yeah, you got to take care of
right?
your doctors, take care of your people first. That's your number one resource.
Yes. And of course, having if the doctor is successful, his office is going to be successful. The office is going to be profitable, and the group is going to be better. It's going to make more money. You have more money to do more things. So at the end, Peter, we ended up with 7 offices and 25 clinicians. Um, about half of us were physicians, and about half nurse practitioners and PAs. Um, and That's when we, in 2020, we were, we were approached by a larger group here in San Antonio that we were working with. And, those were crazy times, you may recall, with, with COVID.
Yes.
And just because of a variety of reasons, we ended up selling our group. But the and something that uh, happened. My oldest son also loves the sciences. He's a very kind, gentle guy, and he has the personality to become a physician. He's very caring. Um, so when he was at the university here in Baylor, under doing his pre-med, I asked him, he was like probably in his sophomore year, said, well, David, are you interested in medicine still? Because he said, well, Dad, I see how much you work, and I don't want that.
That's what my kids tell me too. Exact same conversation.
So I said, well, David, I do what I do because I want to do it. Um, Not because I have to do it. this is what I do. This is what God sent me to this world to do, and I do it joyfully. And but most physicians don't do what I do. Um, but I was not able to convince him. Now, on the other hand, Peter, you asked me, well, what? How did I avoided a burnout? And this is something that I would tell people. I said, look, there were some days that were really, really bad headaches. There were bad days. Okay. And there were some days that something wonderful happened that I just felt like $1 million. That's exactly what I tell them. Okay. So I always got up in the morning ready to get back in there. Okay. It was not all in the up and up. No, sir. There were difficult times. Though you get up in the morning, you get dressed, and you get back in there and you do it again. Now I did have agency, as I told you before. I controlled my schedule. I did what I wanted to do because I wanted to do it. And yes, I had a mission that I kept in mind. And just to give you also a little other example, we all have difficult patients. We all have difficult patients, right? And you look at your laptop or your, well, we were initially were paper charts, right? And I would grab the chart, the paper chart, but the thing is the same. See the patient's name. And it would just say, my heart would sink. I would say, I'm in for something in that exam room, right?
Right.
We all have had that. Now, the different readings that I do and all, I came across something from Mother Teresa. It said, if her mission was taking care of Jesus by taking care of her fellow man. Right? That's what drove her into sainthood. So I started to reflect on that, and I instead of when I go see I had a few patients like this, not many, but then I said, well, how? I don't want my heart to sink. I don't want to be in a not a bad mood, but in guarded going into the exam room.
Right. You don't want to dread it.
Yeah, I don't want to dread. I don't want to have that. So if it was a lady, it was a woman, an elderly woman, or so a woman that I knew I was going to be in there for a while. I would say, before I got into the room, I'm taking care of the Virgin Mary.
That's so you could kind of tell yourself, all right,
Yes, yes.
this is one of
Okay.
God's children. I will take care of them.
I will take care of them. Okay. Uh, and then, so changing my attitude. Okay. I'm open. I'm going to do the best I can with her. Uh, Actually, I would get in there and I never call her Virgin Mary, but
Yeah, that may not have gone over well. Well, I think we've
yeah,
all
right.
discovered that once in a while you have to step back and say, okay, I'm taking care of a flawed human being, and I may be seeing that person on the worst day of his or her life. And
Which
because of that, I have to have the wisdom to see beyond this moment and this weakness this person has and see this is a good person somewhere down deep inside. His or her mother loved them when they were little. Somebody loves this person, and to me it helps to see that, just to say, okay, this is a child of God. This is someone that deserves my kindness, even if I don't want to let them take advantage of me or to be unkind or something like that. But it helps you to go in just to say, okay, I'm taking care of another human being, and I don't want to permanently judge them based on their temporary circumstances. It is very hard, but it kind of
It,
helps. I think it helps to kind of tell yourself that, okay, I'm taking care of someone of value, even though this person is really hard to deal with, or they've got a personality disorder or something. It helps to kind of center yourself and be like, okay, I
it,
can do this, and I'm here at this time, and we'll just make it happen.
and yes, and if it was a man, I would tell myself, I'm taking care of Saint Peter.
There you go.
you know, and and sometimes well, of course, 35 years in private practice, taking care of thousands and thousands of people and so on. And sometimes I will come out of the exam room and tell, having a difficult visit, I will tell my MA, I'm earning heaven. I've just earned heaven.
There you go. So what would you tell, now that you are looking from this vantage of hindsight of of decades of doing this, what would you go back and tell the Robert Ross of 10 years and 20 years into practice? Because a lot of people, my observation, I think yours as well, a lot of people are getting to the middle of their career, somewhere in their 40s or 50s in their age, and they're saying, I've had enough. I've burned out. I'm going to not only change what I'm doing, I'm going to leave medicine altogether. And because it's so frustrating, because it is, there are parts of medicine that are very frustrating. But what would you tell someone in that career stage, or what would you have told yourself at that time if you could go back in time?
Well, first is going back to basics. Why did you do this? Why did you put yourself at such a young age, when you were a teenager, when you were in high school, middle school, for some, why did you decide to become a physician? What drove you? What was your why then? Yes, we know we go in with bright eyes and not knowing, right? Um, though then is, what are the things of your career, of what the work that you do that you like? And why are you doing it? I mean, it can be just, this is a way that I can provide a good living for my family. That may be your why. And that's perfectly acceptable. Okay? Other things is, I like taking care of my patients. I dislike all these other things, but I really enjoy taking care of my patients, or doing procedures, or whatever it is that they do. Okay. Um, they may be doing research. They may be working with residents. They may, whatever it is. And try to focus on the positives of your work. Um, Trying to develop agency, things that you control. Many things we don't control, right? And you well know. You are, at the end of the day, you're finishing at the office and you get the call of an unassigned admission in the emergency room,
Right.
right? You have absolutely no control of that, right? So we have always all been in that situation, or many of us actually have been in that situation, right? So there are some things we don't control. Um, but there are some things that we do control. And so trying to focus and finding joy in the things that we control. And just roll with the punches of things that we don't control. And it's part, that's what something I will tell my physicians, met primary care, the office, our environment is like like a bag of beans. Okay. There are a lot there are a lot of good beans in there. But you find rocks and you find sticks and you find things that you have to clean up,
That's true.
right? So there are good things in medicine and what you do, in whatever your environment may be, but there are some things that are not good. So if the physician has some degree of agency and control and is able to do more of the things that they enjoy doing, on one end and decreasing the things they don't enjoy doing and cutting them out of their schedule, okay, then they would create for themselves a better environment to continue. And it breaks my heart, Peter, to more and more to hear of physicians leaving practice to do other things. And it breaks my heart because, for one, we had invested so much of our time and money, and we have postponed so many things in our lives. We have sacrificed so much personally to become physicians, to get where we are. Everybody has had their own journey, and it has not been an easy journey. There have been many sacrifices along the way. And then society has invested much in us. Many of the residency programs are subsidized either by the feds or communities or religious groups, grants from a variety of sources. So there's been basically a joint effort. It's our personal commitment and what we have put ourselves through. Nobody has given us that degree. We have earned it. We are physicians. We earned our diplomas. We earned our licenses. Okay? But society on the other side has invested much in us. We are very valuable citizens for our communities. We do something very, very special. We have a tremendous influence in the health of our communities. So it is, I think it's very sad when somebody can have a 30, 35, 40, 50-year career in the healthcare of their community and is cut short because of burnout, because they didn't find what they thought they were going to find. Because, yes, the regulations and the burdens and the things that we have to do, besides the tremendous load, the tremendous burden that can medicine be. How many times you are waking up in the middle of the night thinking about a patient that bothers you? You know, you don't like what's happening to the patient, and you're still trying to figure it out. It happened to me. In patients that I said, what's going on here? I have not been able to figure out what's going on, or a patient that is not responding to your treatment, and it's that anguish internally. Am I doing the right thing? Am I thinking the right way? Did I do the test? Am I referring the patient? But so that is just personal. It's a huge burden that we carry. Now, I mean, and in a way, sometimes talking to my colleagues, I would say, once I figure out what's wrong with the patient, even if the diagnosis is a cancer, I can do now something for that person. I have figured out, I know what I'm dealing with now. It's not that uncertainty. Am I doing everything that I can? Right? And that is huge. Now, on top of that, and every interaction that we have with our patient, everything that we do, it wears us down. And then we have to the documentation, and we have all these review labs and the phone calls and all those things. Just that is a lot. You add on all these other regulations, all these other things that we have to do. And yes, unfortunately, the threats of lawsuits or the threats to be reported to the board, the medical board, or somebody writing a nasty letter to the organization that you work for. Uh, my goodness, there are so many things that come from the outside on top of what we do. Okay, just the scope of our work is such that we need to find things that we enjoy. And I don't know if you heard Jordan Grummett um, way of addressing, because he went through burnout, is adding things that bring you joy, eliminating things that you don't enjoy, that drain you, or being able to substitute more of what you enjoy for things that you don't enjoy doing. You know, and but having to be able to exercise agency.
Right. Well, I think that's that's an important point to emphasize because whenever I've experienced that sensation of burnout, overwhelm, frustration, usually it's because I feel a lack of control. I can't control my time. I can't be where I said I was going to be. I promised my child that I would be there for some event, and now that is threatened. Or I can't be there on Christmas morning with my kids, or something. Those things make you feel burnout because you feel like you have no control. And so it sounds like you have already done this in an exemplary way in your career, is to pivot and shift and adapt so that you were able to regain your time and regain control. And I think, I think any of us would probably be pretty satisfied with only working 40 hours a week, something
Yes,
like
sir.
that, where you reduce your hours. And I don't know too many physicians who would be burned out working part time or working a limited number of hours where you can set your parameters. It's certainly a challenging career and it can feel overwhelming, but like you said earlier, you find those little places that you can control because you can't control a lot of things, but the ones that you can give you a lot of agency. And I think that's pretty interesting to reflect on how you've done that.
And something, for instance, what did I do? Um, yes, initially, as I was telling you, I was taking unassigned admissions through the ER when I started practice. In one hospital, actually, I would take 1 year figure out. I took 3 months of ER call in 1 year. Okay. And right in the beginning. So yes, my practice grew, well, a lot, because I was people that did not have doctors became my patients eventually.
Right.
Anyway, two, I was assisting in surgery. I had nursing home. I was doing home visits. I was everywhere. Okay. Besides taking care of patients at the office. Well, as things got busier, and my wife did ask me and said, "Hey, we have two sons." She said, "When as they were getting older," she said, "I want you to spend more time with the boys." And okay, so I said, "Okay." Then the office was very busy, and the medical group forming and developing and so on. So what did I do to have control of my time? I I stopped the hospital work, even though I enjoyed it, and we can have a whole different conversation of the therapeutic effect of the primary care being by the bedside, okay, and taking care of the patient, um, and being the hub, basically, if you have to call specialist and all, but you are there, and that just your presence in by the bedside in the hospital is therapeutic, okay. Um, but I had to and we had other doctors working with us now, so I basically eliminated the hospital work. I eliminated assisting in surgery. Eventually, I stopped taking care of nursing home patients, and at one point in time, I transferred my nursing home patients to another physician. As my elderly patients started to die, that I was doing home visits, and people were asking me if I would go and basically do home visit. I said no. I started to say no. So I started eliminating things, and I basically kept my office practice. That's what I did. And yes, because of the group, reviewing contracts, reviewing financials of the doctors at the ends of the month and how the group were doing, and meeting with the accountants and meeting with the pension plan people and reviewing. insurance contracts and meeting with the insurance people and so on and so forth. But at least I had better control. There were things that I was able to do here from my house. And for instance, when my kids were young, Peter, very intentionally, I would come back from work and eat dinner with the family. They would take their baths, pajamas, this, that, the other, but I would read to them at night. Every night we would read Good Night Moon and Where the Wild Things Are and Dr. Seuss books. Right. And at the end, I ended up reading the first 4 books of the Harry Potter series to them.
We are doing that right now with my youngest one. That's kind of fun.
There you go. And so I would finish my work at the office, drive home, eat dinner, spend time with my sons, do this, and then I would come into my study. As you can, I'm here in my study now, having this conversation with you, and then I would finish my work. I review the whatever contracts, reviewing the financials, reviewing things at my own time. Okay. My wife wanted our sons to be involved in the Cub Scouts, eventually the Boy Scouts. So then again, very intentionally, Wednesday afternoons, that was the afternoon I didn't see patients, I came over. I would go to the meetings because the Boy Scouts met Wednesday evening. I went to many campouts. They asked me to, I became basically the troop doctor. I would do the physicals for the summer camps and all that. They asked me, the scoutmaster asked me to organize the Philmont trip for the troop. So I was the lead adult in the troop to do that. And we ended up taking 14 boys and 4 dads ended up going to Philmont. So that involvement with the Boy Scouts and with my sons, and both of them are Eagle Scouts. Because then again, I told them, look, guys, it's a lot of fun going to the meetings and doing the campouts and doing these things. But at the end, I want something to show for. And what is going to be the goal here is to be an Eagle Scout. So let's work with that aim in mind. And we did, and they are both Eagle Scouts. See? So is that intentionality of things that are valuable, meaningful to you, that you have to be able to put energy into?
I think it's wisdom to be able to look and say, how could I adapt my life and so that I can continue to serve that main driving purpose that we have talked about earlier. I think this has been inspirational, Robert, and I really appreciate you going through this, because think about the inspiration that you found by finding your mission statement, your own personal witness or reason why you do what you do, and then you were able to draw back on the things that weren't fulfilling to you and still be able to be a family man, a person who served in your community, and those things filled you up, and you've been able to do it for decades, which is exemplary and is awesome. So thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're very welcome. Something also that is very, very helpful, Peter, is the financial aspect and your personal life.
Yes.
And we were always very, very, my wife and I were very intentional about saving. And through the group, we opened a profit sharing plan, and it was professionally managed and all. And we were able to put every year significant amount of money. And through the years, yes, we went through the 2002, and then we went to the 2008 and all the craziness, but just broadly diversified funds, investments, some index funds. Personally, also, I have Vanguard index funds on my brokerage account. So I was never, just to give you an example, in 1996, I started practice in 89. In 96, I paid cash for a brand new car. I had the money. I wanted, it was a Mustang GT convertible that
Very
It was a
nice.
little joy. Okay. But I traded my old car and I gave him a check for the remaining. At the house where we're living, we paid the mortgage in 10 years. Okay. The credit cards, we pay them every month in full. I don't have any personal debt.
Well, and that allowed you
So
the latitude to make those changes. When it was time to draw back, you could do it, no problem.
exactly, exactly. When you don't have car loans, when you don't have credit card loans, when you can pay for your kids' education and medical care, because we had health insurance and all that. Um, but finance, I did not have to work per se because I had a master I had to pay. I was not working for somebody else. I wasn't working for the mortgage company or for the bank, okay,
No, you could
or the
decide.
finance
You could
company or
decide
the
for you.
yes. I had agency. I control my finances. I
Yeah.
was putting money away. Okay. We opened Roth IRAs for my wife and for myself. And we, at the beginning of the year, we would fund it. Okay. So um, I had a lot of control over my time, and money was not a driver per se in things that I had to do.
Well, and
I
that's
had to
very
work to
important.
pay bills, you
Right,
know?
because you couldn't have made those changes if you hadn't if you hadn't managed your financial affairs well, but you did.
Hmm. Yes. So um, and I find, and actually I have a whole talk for young physicians, and I will talk to the residents um, about personal finance, because that's something that I think is very, very, very important.
I do too.
Very important. Okay. So and then just to the other things that we did that was very useful was all the offices that we occupied in the group we owned. Either we bought the building, either we bought a building close by where the office was, and we moved the office there, or we bought land and we built a building to put an office there. So all the real estate, that personal real estate that was involved, and I'm still involved. And actually, we are now, because we're getting older, and we are uh, the partnerships with the physicians, partners within the group. That's how that worked. The partners would create another partnership, an NLC, and buy a building that they would rent back to the medical group.
Right.
We have to pay rent anyway to somebody. Might as well pay it to yourself,
Right. No.
you know. And yes, it takes a while. It takes time to do that, but it's very, very. That time is a very good investment, and you're putting your money in there, your savings into your own building, okay, with your partners. It strengthens the partnerships in a way. In another way, um, the rent market rates, triple net rents pay for the building. And years later, like what we're doing now, we're selling the real estate, the offices, and it's more income that I have for my retirement.
Well, so see, everybody that's in vogue right now, everybody is getting into real estate as physicians, but you folded it right into your practice. You built an LLC, you owned the buildings, you could rent them back to yourself. Even when you sold the business to another entity at the end of your career, you still retained ownership of the buildings. And that's
Yes.
now helping you to fulfill your retirement portfolio. And it's awesome. I love the advice.
And it's made it, yes, in a way you could have said it was very, very concentrated. It was very concentrated in the medical group, right? Because it was the medical group where I had my practice there. I was taking care of physicians, paying everybody, right? Then buying the offices, the real estate for the offices, and renting it back to the medical group. You said, man, you were very, very concentrated. Yes, I was. because everything was riding on the medical group. But on the other hand, we, the partners, had control over the medical group.
Right.
Nobody from the outside was telling us what to do.
You could decide if you're
Okay?
going to be successful or not.
Exactly. And we needed to know what we needed to do to be successful. You know, so because we had control. And that is something that I find more and more that many physicians, unfortunately, don't have. And I think it's a significant driver of dissatisfaction. And I said, I've been blessed. I've been blessed all my life. God has given me much more than what I ever expected. It was been a wonderful ride, wonderful ride. If you would have told me when I got my diploma from medical school, you're going to be doing all these things, you're going to be meeting all these people, I would not have believed it. I would have said, no, that happens to somebody else. Okay. And it happened to me. I met people. Yes, we worked together. We put in our time, we put in our energy, our interest, and wonderful things happen. Wonderful things happen, Peter.
Well, I'm inspired after talking to you, Robert, like, because you didn't just talk about it, you did it, and you stayed with a career, and you've played your financial game in a way that's responsible, but laced through all of that is this devotion to your patients and to this life purpose and mission, and everything else in your life seems to have kind of centered around that purpose and that focus. And because of that,
Yes.
you were able to, you had the wisdom and the clarity of thinking to say, this thing matters and this one doesn't. And you were able to regain some of that agency. And I would wish every physician to be able to regain some agency, regain autonomy over their time and how they spend it. Because I think for every one of us, that is easy to lose. And the only one that will defend it is ourselves. And we have to be able to retain it and know when to say no and when to say yes.
Yes. And also the collaboration with people that have the same interest, the same goals. Okay, that we all go marching in the same direction. We are all pulling together, whichever metaphor you want to use. Right? They're all looking at it in the same. We all have the same goals in mind.
Yeah.
And everybody's working towards those goals. Everybody in their own way. I'm not saying we're all doing the same thing, but we're all moving in the same direction.
Well,
and that made it a lot of fun.
That's so great. Thank you again so much for spending the time to share this with us. I'm looking forward to connecting again in the future, Robert. I just really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Peter. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you very much. I have enjoyed it very much. And I hope it's an inspiration, some of the things that I have said.
I'm sure it will be. Thank you so much.
To other of our colleagues. Okay. You're welcome, Peter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for tuning into the Doctors Making a Difference podcast. And thank you for what you do to help your patients and your community. Your work truly helps so many people. We produce this content to help you have the tools you need to stay in medicine and to highlight the amazing work being done by physicians around the world. Please note that while I am a physician, and many of the guests on this program are also physicians or other professionals, the discussions on this podcast do not represent my employer or any professional organizations to which I belong. This podcast is for your information and entertainment only, and should not be taken as professional advice. You should seek appropriate professional advice pertaining to your own situation. Please check out more of our content on our website, doctorsmakingadifference.com. Also, please follow, like, or subscribe on your podcast player or YouTube channel, and give us a 5-star rating. It really helps to spread the message. Finally, if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, or if you'd like to nominate someone else to be a guest, please visit the website or email admin@doctorsmakingadifference.com. See you next time.